What's going on, guys? Welcome to this episode of Home Built Workshop. Today we're going to take an old crusty lamp, we're going to give it a quick and easy restoration, put it all back together and end up with a cool vintage lamp that you could even use in your home, or in probably my case, I'm going to use this as a shop light. Really an awesome and fun project. Stick around, check it out. So I have this really cool old lamp fixture. This thing is awesome. It's almost like black iron pipe, but it's made for a lamp. I don't know if this came out of some sort of an old shop display or what exactly this is from, but it's really cool and I want to be able to put this thing to use. The only problem is right now it's really sketchy and quite scary. The lampshade's held down with duct tape, everything's loose and wobbly. So let's see if we can get this thing in a little bit safer working condition and put this thing back into use. I think this would be great, maybe over the drill press or something like that. A little extra light. First off, let's get this old crusty duct tape out of the way so we can see what's underneath. This has a little set screw here. I think that's what holds this whole portion onto this piece of pipe. Good old WD-40 to the rescue. Not sponsored, but I love this stuff. The set screw takes a flathead screwdriver, but it's all corroded and the screwdriver won't fit. I'm just using a pick to try to scrape some of the corrosion out of there so that I can get in there with a screwdriver. And thankfully, it worked great. The set screw came right out. Ooh, that's tiny. So this lamp socket is really corroded to this post. I'm not convinced that I can save this socket at the moment. I think I'm gonna have to replace it, but just in case that I can repair it and salvage it, I wanna try to protect that ring from scratches. I'm gonna have to grab it with a pair of pliers. Oh, something turned. Something turned. Did you see that? It turned. Oh, nice. Oh, it threads on. Thought it was just corroded on there, like a press-on kind of thing. Don't know if that's gonna unthread without pulling that wire out. But it did. Yeah, see, look how loose that is. I don't know. Everything on this is just so corroded and hard to get apart. How does that come off? Now I can finish disassembling the electrical components. That wasn't even tight. Good thing I didn't try this. Now that I've got this thing apart, I'm starting to look at the components and seeing what exactly I need to replace. I thought that there was a big issue with this switch, but it turns out I think it was just the whole socket and everything was loose. That's where all the play was coming from. I really don't see anything wrong with this. So I believe I can reuse all of the parts for this. We just need to clean things up. Overall, this is going to be a lot easier than I thought. I am really happy to find that. I was worried about being able to find a socket that would fit onto this piece of pipe right here, but I don't think I need to. We're ready to move on. Disassembling the base of this lamp was really easy. Everything's basically a black iron pipe that just bolts together. These are cool pieces. You can see like machining marks or grinding marks or something on there. That's cool. I wish I knew where these were from. There is this little label right here that I can barely see. I do want to show it. I can't quite make it out and it's not all there. Milwaukee. Made in Milwaukee. I'm going to look around, spend a few minutes trying to see if I can find a lighting manufacturer or something out of Milwaukee, but there's a label. I'm going to try to save that. Now I'm going to begin cleaning up the pieces. I'm going to first start just by using a wire brush just to knock off the larger loose particles. I keep going back and forth as to how I really want to finish this. Part of me really wants to clean this up almost to a new old finish, but I like this kind of rusty, somewhat beat up kind of rat rod kind of look. I think I'm going to stick with it. The parts for this thing are just cool. I really wish I could find more about this manufacturer. I spent a fair amount of time trying to research some sort of industrial lighting companies based in Milwaukee, and I could find nothing that even somewhat resembled the name that's on this label. If you guys have any ideas as to who the manufacturer may be, go ahead and leave them in the comments. I switched over to a wire wheel on the bench grinder to finish cleaning up these parts. This is probably one of my least favorite tools ever made, but it is very efficient in cleaning up these pieces, and that's why I decided to use it. Make sure you wear your protective equipment if you're using a wire wheel. Those little wires can fly off, and they really do hurt when they stick you right in the forehead. Believe me, I know. So now I'm going to use a little bit of mineral spirits combined with a green Scotch-Brite pad. I'm going to clean all the pieces up with that. I think the Scotch-Brite pad mixed with the mineral spirits is going to help loosen up anything that may still be stuck on these parts. Oh yeah, that's getting a little bit more off. Oh, this is going to work good. I would recommend gloves for this step, but again, like always, especially recently, I don't have any. Rona. Oh, neat. It's even uncovering this little brass grommet where the wire passes out. Ah, cool. Now, instead of the rust there, a lot of that is gone and it's just kind of bare metal under there. That's gonna have a really cool look. Again, remember, I'm not trying to shine these up and restore it to 100% of its original look. I want to retain this kind of crusty look. Oh man, this is gonna be cool. Look at that schmutz coming right off of there. Now, I think we are ready to prepare to put on a clear coat. My first step in preparation for the clear is going to be to wipe everything down with some isopropyl alcohol. Now you don't have to use isopropyl, you could use paint thinner, you could even use mineral spirits again if you wanted to. Really, we just want to make sure that there's no oily residue or anything like that left on the pieces that could affect the clear. I'm going to put a little bit of masking tape around the brass ring on the lampshade. I don't want the clear on that because I want this brass to age naturally. Now I'll just lay all those parts out on a piece of cardboard and we'll spray them down with a few coats of matte clear. I went with matte because I don't want it to be glossy and shiny. Once that clear is dried, really, all I need to do is reassemble this thing. Now going into this project, I really did anticipate having to replace at least the electrical components to this thing, but since everything appears to be in really good shape, I'm able to just reassemble it, and this project is going really fast. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing at all. A lot of times going into a project, you kind of have to plan for the worst. Until you get in there and see what you have, you don't really know what you're going to be getting yourself into. And when you find that pieces are in good shape and you don't have to plan for that worst case, that's a win. And really, every one of us needs to take just an extra moment once in a while and celebrate those little wins. Now I can just start bolting this thing back together. I'm applying a drop of oil on the threads of the bolts just to help prevent any future corrosion and make things move a little smoother. So you can kind of see how this universal works. I really like this idea. It's kind of a cool design. With the base assembled, now I can just feed the wire back up through the tube. So I really like how this socket works. The way it comes apart makes it really nice. And now I need to make the electrical connections on the light socket. Now, before I proceed, I just want to throw out this word of caution. If you are not completely confident with your abilities and skills with connecting electrical and working with electricity, please do not proceed. Please do not take chances at this step. If you are not completely comfortable, get comfortable or work with somebody who is comfortable. If you do something wrong, you could cause breakers to break, you could get electrocuted. We don't want anything negative to come out of this. So just make sure you know what you're doing moving forward. And I made a mistake. This little ring is supposed to separate the lower half to the upper half. That's supposed to go on first. Then that slides up, kind of like a union fitting for black iron pipe. Connects this piece to that piece. It doesn't fit over there. Not a big deal, but I do need to undo the electrical connections. Put this ring on first, then this piece, then make the electrical connections. Hold please, while I correct this little issue. Now I can show you how this works. This goes on there. There's a couple little tabs that kind of index this thing in the right spot. It doesn't have to be in the same spot, but there are a couple different notches on there. Then you just have this little ring. So before I can tighten that little teeny tiny set screw, this is a tiny flathead screw. And the screw head is kind of corroded a little, so the screwdriver does not fit in there, even one that has a very good tip on there. I think it's all there, I just think there's rust in the slot. So I'm just gonna use one of these little small hacksaws, kind of like a file, just to clean out the slot on this screw. I should have tried this when I was taking the lamp apart. It probably would have made it a little easier. You can kind of see where I've cleaned out the slot in that screw. A little drop of oil will hopefully prevent future corrosion. Well, it's all together. Let's test this thing out. I've just got this LED bulb here. Depending on what you may or may not be doing with your lamp, you might want more of a vintage look, but I intend to use this as probably some sort of machine light, but you could for sure use it for any application that you wanted to. No sparks. Ah, look at that. Nice. This is gonna work really good. I can mount this over maybe the drill press, maybe the bandsaw, who knows where exactly, but it just looks cool. I like this mechanism here, so you can swivel it around, mount it in a bunch of different ways, just tighten up the bolts and it'll stay. You can tilt the shade as needed. I love the look of the brass and this kind of crusty looking metal. Now if you intend to do something similar to this, maybe with something that you already have, you may or may not want to use a different style of bulb. You might want to switch out the cord with something that has an inline switch or something like that. There's a lot of options, but like I already mentioned, just make sure you're working safe, making your connections correctly, and you can have an awesome lamp. Making random lamps out of old things is really awesome, as well as restoring old kind of crusty ones. I like to be able to retain that crusty, old, beat up look. Thanks a lot for watching this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed this project. If you have not built yourself your own homemade lamp, I'm going to challenge you to get out there and build one. Just be safe. Thanks a lot for watching. We'll see you next time. I'm making a mess. What are we gonna do? All right, now how did this go again? Oh, I'm kidding. I'm kidding, guys. Come on. You know what I just realized? I didn't take a before picture of this thing. It's gonna make the thumbnail really tricky to do.